Hello, everybody. Hello, cybersecurity enthusiasts and newbies for hacking, whoever is interested in learning to hack. Why? Because we want to create more secure systems because we know that by learning offense, we can understand the defense. And today, with this episode 3, Learning to Hack with Helen, I have a very special guest, Huda Jameel, who is a cybersecurity student and is very passionate in malware analysis. I'm very excited for this session because I have no background in malware at all. So I know a little bit about it, but I am very excited to learn from you, Huda. So let's give us a little bit overview. What are you going to talk about today?
Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here, and it's nice to be with you, Helen, on working on this. So, a quick overview about myself is that I'm a cybersecurity student, and I'm in my final year of my informatics and security bachelor's degree. And I'm also currently a full-time co-op student as acting as a junior security analyst in iSecurity consulting company. And I'm really passionate and enthusiastic on technology, and I really enjoy exploring and learning more about cybersecurity. So yeah, so today I'll be going over malware analysis for beginners on how to get started with analyzing your malware or any sample malware. So you can explore using different tools and techniques. So I'll just cover based on that. Yes.
Okay, can you, I think you have a mouse at the top. Can you move a little
Oh yes, yeah.
down? Yeah.
Okay. So for today, I'll be going over topics for malware. So the table of contents that I have for today is that I'll talk what malware is and the types of malware and why is malware analysis important. And then two techniques of malware analysis and then how to get started with malware analysis. And then I will go over a list of resources and I would also recommend books that will get you started for malware analysis.
That's very nice. And I think you will also show a little demo for us, right?
Yes, that's right. So stay tuned. It'll be really interesting as well to go over it. So what is malware? So malware is like pretty simple. It's an intrusive software. It is designed to damage and destroy computers and computer systems. So in order for us to understand the malware, we need to proceed further to first analyze it, right? So the malware analysis is a process of understanding the behavior and the purpose of a suspicious file or URL. So the outcome and the output of the analysis is that it aims for any threat detectors or malware analysts to detect and mitigate any potential threats that's caused by malware in our systems or in our network as well. Yeah. So here we have like the different types of malware. So we all are aware that there is a term called malware, right? But malware, it has like different types and it's like super broad, right? So it just can, because when I was new to technology itself, I barely had any idea about malware. So when I got to take a course on malware analysis, I came across like there's so much in malware, right? And it has like different kinds, different types, and also there are different techniques to analyze the malware. So the types of malware that yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, yeah. So the malware anyone can develop. It's like a software, right? But malicious software. So that's malware, malicious software, in a way. And there are many types. I definitely heard about all of them, but haven't researched deeply, specifically. I'm very curious to know about some of.
Yeah.
I think you will talk about ransomware, right?
Oh yes, yeah. I will be talking and touching base on SIN and ransomware. Yeah.
And maybe briefly, a little bit of like a key difference between different types.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the virus is like well known. It just like takes over your computer. The virus can be spread through phishing email or through it can also be spread over your phone as well through SMS. So especially it targets weak security systems and security features in Android, and also in iOS. For adware, it's the advertiser malware. So if you get any unnecessary pop-ups in your systems or in your PC, so be aware that it probably will be an adware. And then rootkit is that it's like a bunch of malicious software. So it's like programs that designed to do different kinds of like malicious activities in your system. And then we have this spyware, which is like obviously well known. It's like spies through your camera, and also like the threat actors like eavesdrops your conversations through spyware as well.
There was actually I read some news that there was a leak, right, about a group that was selling spyware to government services in Israel. And the huge leak that contains a lot of executives, and I think we'll see a lot of interesting information on the site. But talking about spyware, we don't only hear ransomware, right? We're starting to hear more spyware as well.
Yes, that's true. And also I came across some websites that have like flawed web security cameras. That's not like a specific design spyware, but it's just like for me to talk more about like how vulnerable our systems can be if we don't secure it properly. So there are some websites that they have like different webcams from like different CCTV cameras, and there are literally people that are not aware that they're exposed to everyone around the world. So it just like raises a security concern that we also need to take extra like steps and procedures to secure our cameras and systems. So that's like really interesting and scary as well, because we are not aware when we might be watched or tracked for.
Is it surveillance software on a border of spyware, or spyware is specifically malicious, not necessarily surveillance? Because those are very close to each other, right? Yes, it's like who owns it?
Yeah. So spyware, it can be bots. I'm exactly not sure about like the tool itself because I didn't test it out. But it can be bought through like dark web, like threat actors. They use like different resources to get hold of it, right? And also, if you want to test out like how vulnerable the cameras and other systems are, there's an amazing website. It's called Shodan. So it gives you a list of all the like flaws and any flaws that you have in your web camera. So it's just like really interesting search tool. So that's a really good one. And then for ransomware, I'll be talking more about it like in the forwarding slides. And the one that I'll be doing a quick demo would be on state and ransomware today. Yes,
that's interesting.
Yeah. And then we have Trojan horse, then remote access. Remote access is like it's more about the threat actor having control over your PC or computer. So it's like command and control, like C2, right? So they would launch a malware that takes control over your system, and it will be in such a way that you will not be aware about it. So if they can just configure their files to be similar to any of your Windows processing files or different files that you have no idea that you have a malware in your system. So that's why it's so important for us to like configure like antivirus and also like update our systems on a regular basis to ensure that we do not have any of this malicious files. And then we have the worm, and then we have the keylogger. The keylogger is something that captures your keystrokes on your system. So for instance, like the threat actor can use a malware that has the functionality of a keylogger, and then whenever you type in or get into your any social account or your banking or website, it just like captures your keystroke. So we have to be very careful.
And have you seen a combination of more than one type in some malware? Yeah?
Yeah, for sure. There are malware that consists of different functionalities. So it would also have command and control. It would also have like keystrokes, like keylogger, like functionality, and also it would have the functionality to spread on its own on the host, or it would have a functionality to replicate itself. That's like the worm malware. Yeah.
So it's very interesting. I'm very curious to know. So how do you identify all these functionalities? Are you going to explain us a little bit?
Yes. So in order for us to understand, we need to analyze the malware, right? So the more we keep on analyzing malware, we get to build understanding on like where the malware falls under, right? So we can use different tools to see like, okay, this is if we go through the source code and if it shows that, okay, if it's configured in such a way that shows that, okay, it's a command and control, so we know, okay, it's a remote access malware, right? And also we can compare that against if we upload that in virus total, it will also give us an overview if it falls under virus or it's a worm or it's a keylogger. Yeah.
Are there common languages, by the way, for malware? What languages are they usually developed on?
They are
or commonly?
Commonly, that's a really good question. So for malware, honestly, it can be coded in different languages. It doesn't have to be like a specific language to be coded as. Yeah. And the ones
so you see different ones, right? Yeah.
Yes, all the time it's different ones. It's like C, C++, or like all like different kinds of programming languages. It does not have to be a specific language for it.
Okay, interesting.
Yes. Okay, so I'll be going over why is malware analysis important, right? So in order for us to get started with malware analysis, we first need to understand like why. Always we have to ask to ourselves like why do we need to know it's important and why we are interested to find like the malware that's existing in our systems or computer network. So why malware analysis is important is because like, it helps responders to understand the extent of a malware-based incident. So for instance, like if there's a malware that's launched into your networks or your systems, we need to understand to what extent the malware can infect our systems and what systems are infected by the malware, right? And then it also helps us to identify and prevent any additional compromise. So if we analyze the malware and we know that, okay, this is what it does and these are its functionalities, we can take measures and preventive steps to mitigate it instead of making it spread further, right? Because there must be malware that self-replicates. So when it self-replicates, we have to come up with a plan or procedures to mitigate the further spread of the malware. Because if it's just like a malware that's, I don't know, if it's just like, it's a very complex, like honestly, because we really need to study and it's very time consuming as well to analyze malware because there's so much to it, honestly. So
at the end of the analysis, how would usually this happen? I guess antivirus vendors, right? Like Kaspersky, for example, they pretty sure have their own malware analysis team. So at the end, they take in their analysis and improving the antivirus, right, based on the findings that they have.
For sure. Yeah.
And for people who enjoy or passionate about malware analysis, not necessarily working for Kaspersky, is there a process that you can potentially provide some information or you
process?
just
yeah, that's a very good question, Helen. So I guess we could always get started by ourselves and see where it goes because like when we spend time and hours and work on different labs and read books about malware, we get to explore like different areas on how we should perform the analysis, right? So it's really interesting, but also with to make sure we also spend more time because along with time, like it helps us improve as well, right? So if we do not spend much time analyzing the malware, we would not have a strong idea and basic knowledge about it, right? So I will go over steps on how to get started. So that's a really good question that you brought up.
Yeah. Good. By the way, speaking of questions, if anyone in the audience have a question, please don't hesitate to ask in the chat. Or you can even get in touch with us and Huda after the session or during the session. So please ask your questions. We're looking for them. So let's move on. Techniques.
Yeah.
I see.
So yes, that's right. So I have here the malware analysis techniques, the two key techniques for malware analysis. So we have static analysis and dynamic analysis. So for static analysis, we have two ways. So we have basic static analysis and advanced static analysis. And the same applies to dynamic analysis. So for each one of them, I will go more in depth, like in the following slide. Okay, so here we have about basic static analysis. So what it does is that it examines the malware without viewing the actual code or instructions. So for instance, before running the code in ID, like different tools like to analyze the source code. So this basic static analysis, all it does is that it just, before opening the malware file itself, it just checks if it's like malicious or the hashes of the file. So in order to do that, we can always use various sort of website and like the string command. There must be more tools to it, but as of for now, the ones that I'm really like I have experience and I've used is like various sort of website and string command. So what various sort of website does is that once you upload your malicious file through different 72 resources or antivirus like companies and different tools, they check against their systems, and because they have like huge, because they analyze malware, right? So they have already a set of files they compare against and see, okay, this is the source code that you have uploaded that's malicious, and they compare against their system. And if their system says, okay, this is matching exactly the source code of this malicious file, and then it provides us an overview in the website that this has been detected as malicious by this resource. So there are 72 resources in total, and on a scale of 72, it rates like which resources have like detected, and also gives like really quick details about what kind of malware it is. So if it's a keylogger, it gives us that information as well. So website is something that it does not have to be just for research purposes. If, for instance, like if you get a phishing email or SMS from your, I don't know, from someone else that keeps annoying you for bank login information that you always get, you can always just like copy the link in my website and like copy from your email or SMS and paste it on your website, like where's the website, and it detects if it's malicious or not, right? So that's a really good technique that you can do it yourself. And
So basically, let me see if I understand correctly.
Yes.
So static analysis for malware does the logical code analysis, right, without executing the malware itself,
yes.
executing this software malware.
Yes.
So just looking through the code analysis by trying to find specific instructions that perceived as malicious by those tools, right?
Yes.
So, do you also do any manual static analysis? Let's say if there's maybe a questionable logic that is not specifically recognized, but maybe it's suspicious. Do you also go and do further manual analysis?
Yes, that we do. So it will fall under advanced static analysis and also dynamic analysis. And so in advanced dynamic analysis, it would debug the code and see where it takes us and analyze the code. So basic static analysis is just a quick overview without actually launching the malware, right? So that's a way. So for anyone that does malware analysis, the very first step is to first start off with basic static analysis. Yeah. So you can have the file name. You can also check against like the hashes. So it's also advised that when you download a software and you download from another website and you think, okay, this might be malicious, the best way is to compare the hashes and see, okay, if this hash is like match the one that's like legitimate. So that's a good way of comparing if it's malicious or not. So that's for basic static analysis. And moving on to advanced static analysis. So this is like it loads malware into sorry, I can't pronounce it. So disassembler reverse engineer, right? So what it does is that you can use tools like IDA Pro and Dependency Walker to actually understand and analyze the functions and the source code of the malware. So the one that I really enjoy working with is IDA Pro because it gives you a flow chart on how the malware is operated. And you can always move back and forth to see different how the functions in the code are being called, and it's just amazing tool.
Interesting. So you have some examples? Oh, okay. I see.
Yes.
You almost went.
Yeah. So this is an example for virus photo. So as I just mentioned to you, it also shows you what type of malware they are. So we have Trojan, ransomware for, sorry, my battery is low. So for student ransomware, simply I had the student.bin file. So I uploaded that in the virus photo website, and it detected out of 72 engines that 64 have detected that it's malicious, right? So we can see add aware, VAS, AWAS, then we have Equinos, and then we have we also have McAfee as well. We have Alto, we have Cisco, so it's more towards the end, the different organizations that detect.
So do you just do it on your laptop, PC?
Yeah. This website actually can just open in your laptop. Also
is it safe?
As well.
Is it safe? Would you have a malware on your laptop?
Malware, yes. So okay. So for the virus website, for instance, as I just mentioned before, if you get a phishing email or a fishy SMS from some bank teller saying that, oh, open your bank account, you need to log in to deposit your cash or so on. So you can just paste that link to virus photo, and then it gives you an overview. Okay, this is malicious or not.
Well, that's a very useful website then for just general safety, right? If you want to double check.
That is so true. Yeah, I've personally used this. Yeah, if I think, okay, the sender is not from my contact list, or it's suspicious, but at the same time curious as well, because it's something that's reliable to me. So I always paste in here and just cross-reference, okay, this is malware or not, or it's malicious or not.
Yeah, so for our audience, note it down, virustotal.com, right? Make sure you check your attachments there.
Yes, exactly. Okay, and then this is the string command. So what I did is that I have the student.bin malware file, and all I did is just use the string command. So it lists all the strings that's inside the malware. So usually this all is garbage, and the characters are not useful, but among these there must be some keywords, they have some hashes or passwords, and it gives us a lead to go somewhere, right? So okay, we need to look for this word, maybe it means something or does something, but in this image it's all unnecessary characters. It's not useful, but I just want to show you that we can use string command along with the malware file to go more in depth. So I will go over this information.
That's an interesting name. Is that a specific malware you're looking at?
Oh yes, that's it. That sounds so evil. The fact that it's already a ransomware on top, it's using the word student, it's more evil to it. Yeah. Okay. And then the tool that I talked about is one of my favorite is the IDA Pro. So what it does is that as you just see on the screen, these are the functions, right? So you can see it's calls, it's pushes and pops. So what it does is that it gives you a flowchart overview on how the source code is coded, right? So all you have to do is it gives you a magnifier to go up and down and go through different modules and which function that it calls and how the function is overall configured to work. And then we have the functions window. So whatever functions are coded in the malware, we are able to just see that through this window. So it's super convenient because the Satan ransomware, it has a lot of functions, right? And if honestly, like if you have like thousands and thousands of source code, it just gets too tedious to go, okay, which function is calling, like what it's doing, and back and forth, right? So with IDE Pro, it just says like this is the function, so you can click one by one and just try to understand, or you can just use the flow chart and see like which function it's calling. Because you can see arrows and so on, so you can see directly like, okay, this is the function that's calling, and you can further go and analyze it.
That's very cool. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And it's colorful too, so it's not like too boring to view. So that's really good too. Yeah. And then we have the strings window. So yeah, so as I just went over, we have the string command, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same concept. Like the string command, you can just use it in your command prompt or terminal, or in here, string window, it shows the same thing. So for instance, we can see it has like DLL, we have another garbage character. So the one that we will look mostly is the DLL. So dependencies like a file. So that's a very good file to analyze for malware. So this is for the IDE Pro. Yeah. So and then we have the dynamic analysis. So static analysis is it's simple compared to dynamic analysis. So for that dynamic analysis, in depth to understand the functionality of the malware, and also we look for like the technical indicators that can be used in detection signatures, right? So for instance, in the source code, we would look for the domain names, IP addresses, the file path locations as well. Because when the malware runs, we need to also see which file path it's like directing towards, right? Because we need to understand, okay, this is where it lands its malicious file at, so we can like remove it or like discard the file, malicious file. And also for registry keys, these are like the main, like it's very important, because what it does is that there are some malware that once it runs, it changes the registry key, right? So the one direct shot before running the malware, we take a snapshot of all the registry keys, and then after running the malware, we take another snapshot, and then we compare against one another what changes have been made to the registry keys. So that's like an amazing tool as well.
I think that's a very good tip, and I guess the dynamic analysis, you need a specific sandbox, right? You won't try to launch malware and analyze just anywhere on your work laptop, right, or something.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want to know, that you're just trying to learn something, and the next moment you know that you're infected. That's another story. Yeah. So we have the tools. Sorry. Yes.
No. Go ahead.
Okay. So we have the tools for dynamic analysis. We have like Process Monitor, Process Explorer, RegShot, the one that I just talked about, comparing different registry keys, and then the very well-known Wireshark, and then we have IDE Pro. So for Wireshark, if you're doing analysis on your Windows machine, for sure you need to install that, because it's not there by default. But if you in Kali machine or so on, it's already installed by default. So yeah. And then we have advanced dynamic analysis. So for this, this is a tool only bug. I guess it's debug. So what it does is that it debugs the malware, right? So while it is active. So the fact that when the malware is still running, you can actively use this tool to debug the source code. So that's pretty interesting. Okay. So since I talked a lot about this, right, and everyone would be wondering like how to get started with malware analysis. Right, so the very first step is that first we need to allocate a machine or a VM for malware analysis, right? So we need to build our malware analysis lab strictly just for malware analysis. So in that, like, do not just use it for other purposes like social accounts. So it has to be strictly for just malware. So that's like the best way of getting started with malware analysis. And then the next step is to ensure the malware is isolated, like the machine is isolated. So for that, you have to go to your network configurations and make sure it's not connected to your computer or your machine, your local machine, and it's like it's in an air gap environment, right? So it's just like it's not connected to the internet or so on. Because for malware analysis, honestly, you do not need to have internet access, because once you have all your tools installed, you can just like disconnect from the internet. And because we have, honestly, we do not have idea what how nasty a malware can be, right? It can do wonders, honestly. Because first, as a beginner, we are getting started to analyze the malware. So we have to make sure that we first have the protection and then proceed to analyze the malware. And then the very last step is you should have sufficient disk space for your VMware. So when you like configure your VMware, make sure you allocate sufficient disk space. So for instance, before starting off your malware analysis and launching the malware in your system, ensure that you take a snapshot before launching the malware. So even if it happens, if you launch a malware and it freezes your screen, or you have different alerts running around or popping around your screen, you are in the ease knowing that you can always go back, and you wouldn't be scared, okay, it's gonna mess up like everything, right? So having a snapshot is like the main key, because if something goes wrong, you can always revert back, right? And yeah, so that's like the main point as well.
So I've learned the three main steps. So you definitely need to have some virtual machine set up, right? To build your own lab. So don't do it on your work laptop or personal PC. Yeah, and then air gapped. I really like this term. It comes from military, right? So really isolated from all networks. Make sure it's not connected to anybody, anywhere, on your home or anywhere, right? Because it can just move around throughout the network. You don't know about the malware, right? At that point. And the last one, and it's important step that you mentioned also in the previous slide, for the key register, right? You want to compare, you want to have your backup, your snapshot to go back to, and maybe even being able to compare and rewalk your steps, right? When you're analyzing the malware, if something goes wrong and you need to reset, then you trying to rewalk your steps that led you to that error, I guess.
Okay, that's a really interesting question. So in order for me to answer more in depth, what we can do is I can do a quick demo of the student ransomware, and I can explain like how I use the different tools to analyze the malware, the student ransomware. And I would also consider like the techniques, the static analysis, and also dynamic analysis, and all with that. And it'll be really interesting.
Yeah, that's very exciting. I'm looking forward. So let's jump into this demo.
Great, let's go into it.
All right, so I'll just do a quick demo for malware analysis today. So here I have my virtual machine already booted up. So I have allocated a machine strictly just for malware analysis. So in this machine, I have installed tools such as RecShot, Process Explorer, Process Monitor, Dependency Walker, Explorer IDA Pro, PID, PEView. So these are the tools that we can use for a static analysis as well as for dynamic analysis. So before going any further to use this tool, I will just give a quick overview on the malware that I'll be analyzing today. So it's called Satan ransomware. So it is a crypto virus which operates as a Satan ransomware as a service. So the purpose of this malware is that it infects the victim's computer with a crypto virus, and then it encrypts the file on the victim's machine, and it asks for the ransomware to be paid in order for them to decrypt it. So once the malware has been executed successfully on the system, what it does is that it then attempts to execute its list of exploit against each IP addresses on the local network. So and then this ransomware, then this malware would then reach out to one of its command and control servers, the C2 servers, and retrieve a Class C subnet to attack. So that's just a quick overview for the Satan ransomware. So in order for us to get started, I have already uploaded the Satan.bin file that I have right in here. Sorry. So I have it right in here. So this is the Satan ransomware. Um, so I have already uploaded that, and before uploading that, I have just searched for virustotal.com and I have disconnected from the internet um, for in order for it not to execute further because we're not sure to what extent the malware can go on. So this is a tool. It lists out of 71 security vendors have listed this malware. 60 security vendors have, out of 71, 60 have listed this as a malicious file, and the list goes on and on. So it's really helpful to have this because like by going through it, we can see what type of malware this is. And then on details section, it gives out basic properties, history, names, header section, imports. So imports, it talks about the imports that are included in the Satan.bin. And then we have here the URLs, domains, IP addresses that have been contacted by the Satan.bin. So this is really an interesting tool, free tool that anyone can use, and it's available online, free of cost. So that's really good. And then we have the Process Explorer. So this lists all the processes that are currently running on this machine. So once we launch the Satan.bin, it would show us, probably it would show us any of the executable or bin file that the Student.bin has been configured to run. So without having the Process Explorer open, we would not be able to see it because this is probably a it's not visible because it's not open. This tool is not open, right? So if it's closed and we run the malware, we would not know what executable that's running behind the screen and so on, right? So having this open on our screen and then running the malware would actually show us like which executable or .bin file has been executed. And then we have the dependency walker. So this we have here the crypt functions. So this is really an interesting functions to go through as well. So these are the imports. So I guess the one that I would talk over, this is like pretty straightforward. So while reading through these functions, we can actually make a sense that, okay, this closes the handles, this creates a file, this closes a file, this closes the process, exits the process. So it's like pretty clear, right? And then for this, what it does is that among them, the crypt create hash is that it creates the hash, and then the crypt hash data is that it encrypts the hash data. So among all of this, the one that I think the most important window function among them is that it's the crypt acquire context. So what this function does is that it's used by the Satan ransomware to initialize the use of Windows encryption. And the rest of the crypt functions help in the process of encryption. So that's all for the dependency walker. And then we have the reg shot. So what it does is that you can always create a shot before the malware is launched, and then you can just click that, and then after you launch the malware, you can click on second shot, and then you can compare it. So it's really an amazing tool to compare the Windows registry keys if any of them have been modified. So that's all for a quick demo for today, and we have a couple of them as well, like IDEA Pro. They're really amazing as well. It lists different functions, and you can go through their import and export functions and strings and so on. And my quick, I just want to bring up a textbook that I will be talking more about in the next slide. But since I have the machine already open and I have the labs installed, I will just give a quick explanation on these labs. So in order for any beginners to get started, I would highly suggest the practical malware analysis book. It's available on Amazon, eBay, or any online website for bugs. And so what this does is that in this book, we always have the option to install labs. So after each chapters, we are presented with questions, and we use these labs to answer those questions. And at the end of the book, we also have solutions for each of the labs. So that's all for today's demo, and we can now proceed further to the presentation.
Wow, great. Thank you. Thank you for this interesting demo. I really liked it. Now, I'm very excited to learn a little bit more, and I see you already presenting tools and resources. So where do I start? Maybe a specific recommendation of my first to go. I know already virus.com, right? Virustotal.com. What else on your list here?
Okay, so Fire's a website that you can just search it online through the Google search, and it's right available online. So you do not have to install or do any installation for that. And then we have the string command. All you have to do is you can run the string command in your command prompt or terminal, and you can extract the strings and analyze them. For IDEA Pro, you need to download the software. So I did post the download link for that. So right in the comments section, I would post all the links, or I can provide a document with all the resources and the links. And then we have dependency walker. For this, we have to download from the link that I just posted. So this is not already by default in Windows. We have to install that for analysis. So yeah, and then we have the PE view. This has to be installed as well. And then we have PE Explorer disassembler. So I have, for each of the resources, I have linked out the download links for them. And then we have the process monitor. We do not need to install that because it's already configured in Windows. And then we have the process explorer as well. That's already pre-built. It's available on Windows, so for that. And then we have RegShot. For this, I believe we have to, it is available on Windows, but I can also give out a link to that, because as far as I recall, we need to install this from a link as well. And then we have a Wireshark. We can install this from the Wireshark website. So that's pretty straightforward. And then we have all the DVG. I've also linked out the resource for that, where you can install it.
Awesome, but I think it's very important to have a VM and install those tools on your virtual machine, not your personal laptop. I keep iterating that. So
having your own VM with all these tools, it's amazing, because when you need to analyze something, you always know in your mind that, okay, there's a VM that's allocated this for analysis, so it's so much convenience for you. Yeah. And then lastly, I would just want to recommend a book that I personally have, and I read through it. I also practiced the lab on it. So it's called Practical Malware Analysis. So you can purchase it from Amazon, eBay, or also you can have an online version of this. And I hugely and immensely recommend this, because after each chapter, you do have labs to work on. And also they do provide solutions at the end of this book. So you can work on your questions, and then you can refer back to the solutions as well. So it's a really amazing book to get started on. And along with that, in each chapter, it does talk about how to use different tools. So the tools that I talked about today are the ones that I actually got and had an understanding from this book. So this book is pretty thick, but it's really useful. Yeah.
I think I saw this book. It's very interesting, definitely, and I like the analogy of alien here.
Yes, it looks really interesting. Yeah, dissecting malicious software. Yeah.
Well, thank you. This was very interesting. It's really, I would say, one of the first time I'm diving into more details for malware analysis. At the level with the little demo, and having this conversation to you directly, asking questions. Thank you so much for joining this session. I really appreciate it, Huda.
Helen. Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here. Yes.
Thank you. And thanks for audience who were listening to us, and Cyber Exchange, who is hosting these episodes. So please don't hesitate to comment your questions or comments, feedback, always appreciate. And you can reach out to us on Cyber Exchange platform or anywhere else, you know where to find us. Please get connected with us, talk to us, and see you next month. Hopefully in future, we might have some more of malware analysis sessions with more details and so on. And see you later. Bye.
Bye.